Shalom, friends. The story in the book of 1 Kings, chapter 21, presents one of the most perplexing accounts in the Bible. King Ahab seeks guidance before going to war, only to hear from a prophet, Micah, that God has permitted a lying spirit to deceive him. This raises profound theological questions. Did God lie? Can God lie? And if not, why would God allow a lying spirit to lead Ahab to destruction? In this video, we will explore these questions, looking closely at the nature of God, the role of free will, and the Rabbinic and New Testament insights on this passage. We will approach this subject through the lens of the two greatest commandments, to love God and love our neighbor. In the book of 1 Kings, chapter 22, King Ahab of Israel consults his prophets about whether he should go to war with Ramoth-Gilead. His prophets unanimously declare success. However, the true prophet Micah delivers a shocking vision. He reveals that God has permitted a lying spirit to enter the mouths of Ahab's prophets, leading Ahab toward a decision that will result in his death. The pivotal moment occurs in 1 Kings chapter 22, verses 19 through 22, where Micah describes his vision of a heavenly court. He states, "I saw the Lord sitting on his throne, and all the host of heaven standing by him on his right hand and on his left. The Lord said, 'Who will entice Ahab to go up and fall at Ramoth-Gilead?' One said this way, and another said that way. Then a spirit came forward and stood before the Lord and said, 'I will entice him.' The Lord said to him, 'How?' He said, 'I will go and will be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets.' He said, 'You will succeed in enticing him. Go and do it.'" At first glance, this passage seems to contradict God's nature as truthful and just. However, as we will see, it reveals deeper truths about his sovereignty and human accountability. The Bible unequivocally affirms that God cannot lie. In the book of Hebrews chapter 6 verse 18, we read, "It is impossible for God to lie." Similarly, in the book of Numbers chapter 23 verse 19, it says, "God is not a man that he should lie." In the book of Titus chapter 1 verse 2, we read, "In hope of eternal life, which God, who cannot lie, promised before time began." These verses emphasize that truth is not merely an attribute of God, but his very essence. Rabbi Yeshua himself declared, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." The Gospel of John chapter 14 verse 6. God's essence is truth, and everything he does reflects his divine nature. How then do we reconcile this with his allowance of a lying spirit? Rabbinic tradition offers insight into the nature of the lying spirit. The Talmud in Sanhedrin Folio 89 describes instances where heavenly beings or spiritual entities serve as instruments of divine judgment. Some commentators identify the lying spirit as a demon permitted by God to act within his sovereign will. One commentary from the Midrash in Midrash Tanchuma Mishpatim, section 15, states, "Just as a king does not execute judgment without witnesses, so too does the Holy One. Blessed be he, use intermediaries to carry out his decrees." This interpretation sees the lying spirit as a servant of justice, allowed to deceive because of Ahab's repeated rejection of truth. Demons, according to rabbinic teaching, operate within limits set by God. In the book of Job, chapter 1, verses 6 through 12, Satan himself must seek God's permission before testing Job. This shows that even malevolent spirits cannot act outside God's control. Thus, God remains truthful while allowing the lying spirit to fulfill its role in divine judgment. The story of Ahab parallels the account of Pharaoh in the book of Exodus. In Exodus chapter 9, verse 12, we read, "The Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh." This raises similar questions about free will and divine sovereignty. Pharaoh's hardening served a dual purpose, to display God's power and to deliver Israel from bondage. However, it is important to note that Pharaoh repeatedly hardened his own heart before God intervened. Similarly, Ahab consistently rejected true prophecy and surrounded himself with false prophets. In both cases, God's actions highlight the principle of accountability. As Rabbi Yeshua taught, "For by your words you will be justified, and by your words you will be condemned." The Gospel of Matthew chapter 12 verse 37. The permission of the lying spirit does not mean God lied. Rather, it demonstrates God's justice and sovereignty. In the book of Romans, chapter 1, verses 24 through 28, Paul explains that God gives people over to their sinful desires as a form of judgment. Ahab's reliance on false prophets reflects his own heart, and the lion's spirit exposes this reality. This account also illustrates the danger of rejecting truth. As Rabbi Yeshua said, "You will know the truth, and the truth will make you free." The Gospel of John, chapter 8, verse 32. When we reject God's truth, we open ourselves to deception. The story of Ahab teaches us to seek God's truth wholeheartedly and to surround ourselves with godly counsel. It also reminds us of the importance of humility before God's sovereignty. As the two greatest commandments teach, we must love God with all our heart and love our neighbors as ourselves. Rejecting truth harms both our relationship with God and our ability to love others. Did God lie to Ahab? The answer is no. God's nature is unchanging, holy, and truthful. The lion's spirit was an instrument of judgment, permitted by God, but not a reflection of his character. This story reveals the seriousness of rejecting truth and the justice of God's sovereign will. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe for more biblical insights. God bless.